Welcome to another tips and tricks video. In this video, I'm going to show you various ways of how to determine if your third-party or custom indicator that appears to have signals, whether those signals are exposed by a data series or a plot or some other value that can be read by another indicator or, more importantly, by BloodHound. I have several indicators on my chart here that are custom indicators from various vendors and some from Big Mics. So let me run through them. I have Felton's momentum indicator from Roger Felton, posted up on Big Mics. I have the D3 spotter MACD, also posted up on Big Mics. The blue and red line is the TC trending TSF indicator. It is a free indicator and it's available from the company's website who produces it. Next is the Felton bands, produced by Roger Felton, and is available for free up on Big Mics Trading. Then I have the breakaway bars posted up on Indicator Warehouse, and that is what's providing these dots and these triangles as signals. Next is the Felton channel, again available for free up on Big Mics Trading. And then lastly, I have the DC sequence, which is plotting these texts, the numbered text and also these resistance lines. So we're going to start by examining various ways that you can determine if your indicator has a plot out or a data series out or a bool series out that BloodHound can read. First thing I usually like to do is I will double click on the indicator. So I am trying to double click on this plot indicator here, and normally that will open up the indicator window. So, and it's not this time, so I will manually open it up, and this is the Felton momentum indicator. So when I open this up, what I'm looking for are the various, see what's in the plot section here. So I see I have the momentum and I also have a slow line. So most likely I will be able to read this momentum. I close this and I will go into BloodHound. I already have a BloodHound template set up for this. And what I will simply do is I will just analyze the slope. Just going to use the slope solver. Let me plug in the Felton momentum. There it is. Alright, and yes, I can see over here that I have the momentum line. Alright, so when we switch that over, yes, we can see now that BloodHound is matching the slope or the direction of the momentum line. So when it's rising, BloodHound's giving us a long output, and when it drops down, when it's falling, it's giving us a short. Alright, so that indicator is readable. On the next indicator here, let me shrink this down out of the way. So here we have the D3 spotter MACD, and what we're looking for are these white dots, and it draws lines to indicate a divergence. So what I'm going to do is double click on one of these white dots and see what it is. I can see here that it brings up a dot properties. Now this dot properties is a chart marker. So it's this marker right here, this dot. And unfortunately, all objects, all chart objects or chart markers on here are not readable by indicators, and it's not readable by BloodHound because it just doesn't, the price data is just not available from it yet. I'm sure NinjaTrader's working on that. So let me delete this. Click on the line here, and of course that's going to bring up the line properties. So once again, this is a chart object that's not readable. So let me bring up the indicator. So there, when I double clicked on the line, it brought up the indicator window. And we're trying to see if there's any indication that these dots might have a plot value, or the lines might have a plot value. That's readable. But the only thing I see under the plots is just the MACD lines here. I do see up top in the parameters there's settings for the line. So you see we have divergence line color, the line width, the dash style. So it doesn't look like there's any values coming out of this indicator telling us when a divergence is detected. But let's go into BloodHound and just double check, and we'll see what's available. So instead of using the slope, I'm going to use the threshold indicator. The threshold indicator is typically a good indicator to use if an indicator does actually give you a signal of some sort, and I'll show you later on as we get through some of these other indicators. Alright, so I'm going to add the D3 spotter here. There's the MACD. And I can see over here the only plots are just the MACD line. So unfortunately, that's not going to work for us. Let me close this up and we'll take a look at the breakaway bars next. These arrows are what's coming from the breakaway bars. And so once again, this arrow is a chart marker. It's not a plot. And let me check the dots here. Yep, same thing. It's just a regular dot property. Alright, so let's go into BloodHound. We'll change this over to the breakaway bars. Here, down here in the plots, I can see there is a BA signal. There's a market, I'm assuming this is market analyzer buy sell. So they have a plot here for the market analyzer. But we have a BAB signal. It's already selected. And what I'm going to do, so if we're using the threshold solver to try and detect signals, typically I will start with a low number because we don't know what the programmer put in there as a output value to receive a signal. And so I have 0.1, positive 0.1 up here, negative 0.1 down here. And so for the longs, I'm going to set the longs to be for A. And I'm going to set the shorts, and we can see already down here I'm getting signals. We're going to set the shorts to D, so we set that to 1, and we have short signals. So if I want, I can play with the values up here to try and determine what value is coming out. So if I set that to 1, we're still getting long signals. Let me set it to 2. Now the long output is not providing a painted signal here. So it looks like the long signals are about 0.5. So it's half of what they used to be. So it looks like the signals coming out, the value of the signals coming out is probably 1. So if I set this to 0.1, then we will definitely get a signal. So now we can see that the down arrow, we're getting a short. When we get an up triangle, we're getting a long. So there's an up triangle, and there's another up triangle, a down triangle, move on to another indicator. Let's look at the Felton large channel. And the Felton large channel is this custom regression channel here that changes colors as the slope changes. So let me kind of just scroll through here and see if this changes colors. I may not have it set correctly. I'm going to refresh the chart. Ah, there we go. Okay, so we can see that it turned from yellow to yellow, meaning it's flat. And then, see, as we're going up, it went green to green. And there it's yellow again. Now it's red for a downslope. And so, you know, someone might be thinking, well, you know, that's what I want as my signal, is that when this changes red, I want to know when it changes red or when it's green. So first thing we'll do is we'll double click on the object and see what comes up. So what they're doing is they are drawing a regression channel. So once again, that's a chart object which we can't pull data from. Let's look at the indicator inside of BloodHound. Alright, I'll use the threshold solver again. And we'll change this over to the Felton channel. And looky here, so we can see that the Felton channel does not show up in BloodHound. And what that is telling us is that this indicator does not have a plot. Right? The indicator has to have some sort of plot in order for it to show up. So if I click on the Felton bands, you can see here it has two plots. The Felton momentum has two plots. The Fisher transform has a plot. The floor pivots has several plots, all the pivot plots showing up here. If an indicator does not show up in the list here, it's because the indicator does not have a plot, a data series, or bool series for BloodHound to analyze. So let's go into the indicator list and see what shows up. There we go, the large channel. There is a plot section, and we have colors in here, but I don't see any traditional line plots, such as, let me select the Felton bands, and so here I can see here's like a traditional plot that where you can set the color, the dash style, the plot style, and the width to, you know, define how the line looks. But with the large channel, I don't see one of those. Yeah, so there's no line plot output. The only thing this indicator is doing is it's drawing this regression channel. Alright, so let's move on. The next one is the Felton bands. So let me double click on one of the bands here. So the Felton bands is these two lines creating a channel along price here, and they're changing colors. And so as we already looked at, we can see there are two plots here, and we can see we have various settings for the colors. And so, you know, if you're using this indicator, you might say, wow, I'd like to know when this changes yellow. When does this change yellow, or, you know, when is it blue in a strong up move? You know, when's it yellow weakening? So let's bring up BloodHound and see what is exposed by this indicator. So this is kind of like a moving average type situation. So let's use the slope solver on this one. Alright, switch this over to the Felton bands. and we can see that the upper band and the lower band exposed to us, but there doesn't appear to be any kind of plot or data series or something that might indicate what color it is. And unfortunately, colors cannot be read to analyze. There appears to be no signal coming out of the Felton bands. So let's move on to another indicator. All right, and so the TD sequence, what it's doing is it's doing a countdown. It's putting these numbers on the chart, which are counting the bars. It is also putting these arrows on the chart. So if we double click on one of these arrows, yeah, we can see it's just an arrow or a chart marker. And if we double click on text, we can see it's a piece of text. And there does appear to be something right there. What is that? Oh, that's just a red number 1. Oh, there's a line there. And there's a line. Yeah, these green lines are also drawn from the TD sequential. Let's double click on it and just check what it is, and yep, it is a line. So these all appear to be, some type of chart marker. Alright, let's go into the indicator and look at the indicator. And let's look for the plot section. And there is no plot section. We just see various parameters for controlling the color and the countdown. So it does not look like there is any type of output for this countdown. But once again, let's take a look inside of BloodHound. I'm going to use the threshold solver on this one. So I'm using the threshold because if there is some kind of signal, it might be a countdown signal. So we might get values of like 1 through 9 out of this. Alright, so we do have a plot that's just called default. Not sure what that is. And I'm not seeing any kind of signals coming out. So maybe if I make the value smaller, put a couple of zeros in there. And still there's no signal generated from BloodHound. I don't think anything's coming out of that default slope. Well, let's analyze it with the slope analyzer. And there's no slope detected from BloodHound, so there's no values coming out that a slope could be calculated from. And the last one here is the TC trending TSF, and we can see what it's doing is it's changing colors on various conditions. It has multiple conditions. We can see that the indicator is sloping down, but it hasn't changed red yet. When it does change red is when price actually breaks below the line and the line sloping down. And we can see that price broke above the line, but it is still sloping down, so it is still red. And once this moving average starts sloping up, then it changes colors. Alright, so let's open this up in the indicator window. And we can see we do have a plot. We don't appear to have any kind of a signal plot. Let's So this is just the line. And let's take a look at it in BloodHound. So let me use the slope indicator, slope solver. And we can see we have the training TSF and we have a bool series, a signal direction. So let me use this signal direction. See what we get. So what I see here is that when it changes blue, we get a signal long, and then when it changes red, we get a single signal short, like a crossover situation. Let's take a look at this with using the threshold solver. And once again, I will use the bool series signal direction. I'm getting a long output from BloodHound. Now, because this is a bool series, and in coding language, in programming language, essentially a 1 true and a 0 is false. In other words, 1 is on, 0 is off, on being true, off being false. So I'm going to set this to 0, and what we need to do is B being 0 or false, I'm going to set that to 1. There we go. So now we can see that the green lines up with the blue color, and the red, or the short value coming out of BloodHound, lines up when it turns red. And if I turn these both on, so this is how to use a bool series coming from an indicator. Is 1 will be true, 0 will be false, and then set your plots accordingly. Alright, so that does it. This tips and tricks on how to determine if your indicator has some sort of signal generation. Thank you very much.